Hello, and it's if you're watching this live, it's good morning in the UK. It's 10 o'clock, which is a little bit early for me, but we'll run with it. And what I'm hoping to do on stream today is, if you've been following these, you'll see that we've been doing the PiHut's Advent Calendar, Maker Advent Calendar. There's 12 projects, and we've done boxes 1, 2, and 3 so far. And I'm trying to get it done this week. So last stream for this will be Friday the 22nd. And I did some maths on the weekend and realized that basically there clearly aren't enough days to do one box a day. So what we're going to do is pick up the pace and do at least 2 boxes a day. And one day I'm going to have to do 3 because I'm not here on Wednesday. So there'll be no stream then. So we are aiming that I will stream Monday, today, Tuesday, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, and complete the whole thing. So fingers crossed that will go according to plan. Other things, what else has been going on in the world over the weekend? There's a couple of things I was going to share before we started off with the PiHut stuff. So let's just we'll go to the desktop here. And well, that's the Maker Advent Calendar. We'll come back to that in a moment. I got another one of these Tasmotor plugs. It's around here somewhere. Here it is. So it's like a smart plug. It's got an on-off switch. You plug it in. You plug something else in. It's got a relay that can in here that it's controlling, and it's running Tasmotor, which is this open source firmware for such devices. So I showed on an earlier stream with a previous one of those that I could turn a light on and off just using an HTTP request. And I want to put that into my carbon intensity monitor thing. So maybe that is sort of the week between Christmas and New Year's thing that we do on here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I got one of those, and that came from somebody called Andy Stanford Clark, who I'm very grateful for him sending me that. Andy is one of the inventors of the MQTT protocol, and I got talking to him about carbon intensity and the little screen that I made and so forth. And he's now got one of those up and running, and I've got a plug with Tasmotor, which is something else that he's interested in. So we'll see what I can do with that. I did a little bit of work on preparing to do an article, and what I tend to do with these is a sort of time-lapse video build of the tiny space shuttle. So we've got the tiny space shuttle. It's actually turns out it's a retired Lego product. They're not available anymore. So I'm kind of glad I picked it up in Lidl. So we shall have a go at building that and see how that goes. It's one of these 3-in-1 kits. So obviously I'm going to build the space shuttle because that's the best thing to build with it. But you could build like a rocket or some sort of lander by the looks of it. So yeah, so we'll do that, and then maybe that can go behind me there, along with the Lego Land Rover and the other things that you see on my website. So if you wanted to see what I tend to do with these, so here's one I did recently. There's one for a Lego Audi Quattro rally car as well on there. I've also got a Lotus to build at some point. Sort of backlog of birthday presents from a couple of years that I didn't really do. But generally what I do is make sort of time-lapse video, and then you can see some stills of the little Lego project there. So that's something else that I just like doing that isn't necessarily tech. And also the finished things make a sort of fun thing to go in the background there behind me. So the Lego Land Rover here at the minute is currently carrying a 10-core processor for a Mac Pro that I've got back there that needs a bit of an upgrade. So yeah, I did that. And then if you're watching on, especially, I think it's mostly YouTube. I'm not sure if Twitch uses these. I spent a minute on the weekend doing some like thumbnail designs for this series so that they don't all look the same. I mean, the majority of the design here is the same. I just changed the text at the bottom for what day it is. But what you'll see is I'm using Canva, which is something that I think a lot of people use. I'm using it in the free thing, and I sort of picked up this daily vlog template over here and got rid of the face, because the last thing you're ever going to see me do is produce one of those thumbnails with the eyes or me looking shocked or whatever. I absolutely hate those. I think it's a terrible trope or whatever. So I thought we'll gather some things that sort of represent what we're doing here. So we've got the calendar, we've got my little microphone on its boom arm, still messing around with the position of that. And we've got the keyboard. I might talk about keyboards at some point, but long and short of it, as I spent 20 plus years using a Microsoft Natural keyboard, like one of the very, very early ones. I just bought 3 of them over time and just kept using them because they last forever. And I moved to the Keychron company's keyboards. I have 2 of their sort of medium-sized ones, and they're really, really good. They're Bluetooth, and as well as wired. I don't generally like Bluetooth things. I kind of like things wired. But I've tried experimenting with both, and it has a key that you can switch between 2 computers, which is really handy when you've got a couple of Macs, like a work one and a home one or something. So anyway, I made a whole load of those. So when you go to the YouTube channel, things will look a little bit different. And I also started on a web page on my website for this series so that you can find all of them in one go. And I put the videos in a playlist and generally tidied up. So that's what we've been up to this weekend. But now we have a couple of days worth of this to do. So the Maker Advent Calendar here. I'd be interested to see if anyone's doing the Let It Glow version, because that might be something for next time to try out if it comes back next year or if there's something different. Anyway, so we'll go into the Maker Advent Calendar here. And if you remember, what they do is they provide these daily box guides and you get a launch page for which one have you got. So we've got that one. So let's do that. And we have done 1, 2, and 3. So today we're going to attempt to do 4 and 5. The way that I've been doing these, I've probably said before, is I am blind to this. I don't know what's in the boxes, other than it'll be something that builds on our previous thing that we built with the Pico. So let's check out the Pico as well. So this is where we're at. We got, if you remembered, some LEDs that we wired up pretty early, I think on day 2. Day 1 was just putting the Pico on the breadboard and installing MicroPython runtime. Day 2 here, we got the LEDs going and wired up. They present as clear, but they're red, yellow, green. And then day 3, we got these switches going and they're buttons, and learned about inputs. So it's said to leave the circuit alone at the end of day 3. If I don't think I copied any code down to this. I don't know what will happen if we power it up. So maybe I won't just show the end of day 3. But you can go back to day 3's video and see that. So we are going to attempt days 4 and 5 here. So let's click on day 4. And again, this is the first time I'm seeing this. And it would help if you could see it too, wouldn't it? So let's do that. Okay, so Maker Advent Calendar day 4, amazing analog. Today we'll be playing with analog inputs using a potentiometer. Oh, that's cool. That's something I've never actually done before. So this is going to be new to me. So yeah, as they say so far, everything's been digital. So kind of like binary state, it's either on or it's off. So we're also going to look at analog inputs, which work in a different way. So like a volume control or something that doesn't have, sort of just 2 states. It can be somewhere in the middle. Let's see. You'll find some people use analog and others prefer analog with the U and the E. I've lived on both sides of the pond, and yeah, I'll interchangeably use both. I think I'd normally just write analog, but they're both equally correct. So let's see what we got. Box 4. In this box, you'll find one 10K potentiometer and one potentiometer knob. So that looks like this thing here, the twisty thing. A washer, which may be fitted to the potentiometer already, and a nut, and 3 jumper wires. So, okay, what we're getting is something that kind of looks like a volume control here. So let us see what is in box 4. And let's move to do this. And I am going to get the thing here and pull out box 4. Again, not done this before. So here's box 4. and just move the circuit off of here. So I love that these are like numbered and they're different colored and they've got the bit of branding on here and stuff. Probably put everything back in this box afterwards when we're done with all of these so that this kit can be used again, but we can potentially use this for something else as well. Right, so here's box 4. I'm going to put that back in the stack. So 1, 2, 4, right, back it goes. And then we've got everything's in a bag here. So let's see, we were told we needed a potentiometer knob, washer, nut, which may be fitted, and jumper wires. So, okay, potentiometer knob, washer, and nut are loose. So we're going to have to fit those. And jumper wires, again, these come stuck together and we might need to pull them apart depending on how we're going to fit things to things. So let's see, male to male jumper wires, yeah. So back to looking at this. Today's project, we are exploring the wonderful world of analog, so not digital anymore. Analog signals offer a wide range of numbers, so I don't know if that's going to mean floating point numbers, like values between 0 and 1, or values between in a range, like 1 and 10. Like, is this a volume control where it goes to 10? Let's see. The potentiometer is a variable resistor, so I guess as we turn the thing, it changes the resistance, which will change the current, which I guess means the pico will present as a different number representing that current. So yeah, let's see. So we can be set from anywhere to 0 to 10,000 ohms. Resistance is measured in ohms. I don't know if that's a big amount of ohms or not, so this is kind of new to me. And the way we're going to wire our potentiometer allows us to use it to send a varying voltage value, okay, which some special pins can read. So I was saying in previous streams that GPIO pins are general purpose, but some have like special powers, if you like. So we might need to use a specific pin. Well, that's okay. So let's get the circuit built. Make sure your Pico's USB is unplugged. It definitely is. Grab your potentiometer, slide the flat washer over the dial, and then screw on the included nut. So grab your potentiometer, slide the flat washer over the dial, screw on the nut. I guess this is making a base for the, you use that. Maybe it goes a specific way. Oh, it's just a little bit stiff, but it does seem to go better this way around. Okay, so we screwed on the nut and the washer. So, yep. Then with the potentiometer legs facing downwards, down, like that. Turn the dial all the way to the left. So I guess we're giving it a start position and fit the knob with the colored line pointing bottom left. How does that go? Like a radio that's turned all the way down. Okay, well, I wonder if that's right, because that's as far as it's going to go. I feel like a picture would have been handy here. Okay, turn the dial all the way left. Fit the knob. Okay, we can always redo it if we have to. So we've assembled the potentiometer. That's a hard word to say like this. Leave the LEDs and ground wire in the blue lane in place from yesterday's box, but remove the buttons and all the other parts. So we had a circuit that looked like this. So it had this like daughter board. So what we're going to do then is I'll just remove everything that goes to this board. So let's unplug these. I'm going to leave for now. Don't know if we'll need it, but this one connection here that we put in yesterday that sends power out of the Pico across to the power rail on the board. We'll leave that there. Although it is, maybe we'll remove it because actually look at this, it's not pictured here. So that what we've got here is the like three things go into the resistors go into the ground and the ground wire out. So that's all like day 2 stuff. So I'm going to pull that out and lay that to one side at the minute. So we've got hopefully what they want. Now grab the mini breadboard. Mini breadboard still has all the buttons on it. So I'm just going to strip all of those off because it looks like we'll need to remove those. And let's take these apart. And we should probably tidy up as we go and put these back in box 2 at some point. But I'm just going to leave them off camera on the mat here. So I'll try and remember to do that later. So grab the mini breadboard and fit the potentiometer to the front edge facing you. Our diagram uses a generic potentiometer. However, as you have a fancy panel mount version like this, your pins will have a hole space between them. Okay. So it looks like that plugged in quite neatly. So let's take a quick look at that. So we've got this now. B10K potentiometer. It's just plugged into the board. Okay. So I guess the only other part we've got from this week's bag is the wiring. So now we need to connect the potentiometer to our circuit. The right pin goes to 3v3 out on the Pico, middle pin to GPIO 27, physical pin 32, and the left pin to ground. Use the blue lane as we already have that connected to ground for LEDs. Yeah, that's what this wire here does. So that makes the whole of this blue row or lane on the breadboard there connect to ground. So what we need to do is something like that. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is just separate these wires out because it might be useful to have them like that. We'll use black for ground because that's a good convention. So it says with this sort of facing down like that, or facing down like that, we want ground on whichever one lines up with the left pin. So there you go, your ground. There's ground into the potentiometer thing. Then we want 3v3. I'm assuming that's going to be we should use the red one for that. That goes to the other side of the potentiometer in line with the leg. It's quite a tight fit. Okay, that wants to go in that row, so it shouldn't matter. All right, and then our third cable, which in our case is a white one, needs to line up with the middle. So put it in the middle. Okay, so now we've got the potentiometer end of the game lined up, supposedly. So what we need to do now is what should be fairly easy on this is wiring the black one to ground. So let's start with that. So here on our board, all of this rail that's blue is ground. I'm going to put the black one on the ground. Anywhere will do, like that. And now I've got a cabling mess. So let's pull this out. Let's free that up from the other cables. So we need to find a couple of things here. We've got a couple of loose connections that need to be made. So let's just make that a little bit bigger so hopefully you can see it. So we've got ground going into the board. What we need next is the other two wires going in there. So let's see what we can do with that. Okay. And it would be good if we could all see the instructions here. So here we go. So we need physical pin 36 and physical pin 32. So one of those is power. And I think what we need here as well, it would be good if there was a link to it. I'm just going to have to remember to open it. Is on an earlier day or earlier days, there were links to a really good diagram of what all the pins look like. Here we go. So I'm going to have to remember to keep this around and make it nice and big so we can see. So we need the right pin needs to connect to 3v3 physical pin 36. So 36 up here. This is the USB end of the thing. So we've got to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down from the USB end. So our red power here goes 5 down from the USB end. 1, 2, 3. That's past the ground. 4, 5. That's a little bit fiddly. Right, it's in. So we made a connection between the red on the potentiometer and 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fifth one down. Okay. Now we need a GPIO. Physical pin 32, GPIO 27. So 32 is, if we start there, we need to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 more. What you'll see here is this is not just a normal GPIO pin. It's got some additional functionality. It does ADC1. I guess that's analog digital converter, which is why we're using it. And it also has some other function that we don't need to worry about right now. So ADC1, probably why we're using it. So physical pin 32 is 1, 2, 3, the fourth one after the one that we just plugged in. So this one here, let's pull it through and untwist it. Goes to 1, 2, 3, 4. That is very stiff, but it's gone in. And that should be, let's see, 32 should be like 8 down from the top, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, are we more missing? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I put it on the wrong one. Okay. I was one out. Okay, so hopefully, let's make this large. So hopefully we've now got 3 wires on the back of the potentiometer that go to roughly this area of the Pico over here. So hopefully when we fire this up, something good happens. Well, we're going to need some code first, aren't we? So let's go see what they've got in that. So here we go. Back to this. Okay, so we've created that. Activity 1, printing analog values. Let's continuously print the analog reading from our potentiometer. We're using GPIO 27, as this is one of the ADC pins, this is what I was saying from this diagram over here. It's got like special properties. So they're going to tell us what that is, which is good because this is relatively new to me. I've not really worked with this aspect of the Pico before. If you look at our Pico pin map again, I think it would have been handy to have had the link a little bit further up when we first needed it, but it's okay. We know where to go get it, and I will try and keep it open in future days as part of my setup. Now we know we're going to need it a lot. You'll see there are 3 dark green ADC pins available on the right. So yeah, there, look. 1, 0, 2. I don't know what ND is. Maybe it's analog ground. Maybe they'll tell us. Whoops. So yeah, these can convert an analog input into a digital form we can use. We have to import ADC in our code. So there's obviously a MicroPython package that works that. So you'll also spot ADC VREF and A ground pins. We're not going to use these, and we'd rather not overcomplicate it. Okay, so we'll forget we saw those for now. So the code below imports ADC and sets GPIO 27 as an ADC pin. So digital. Then we start a while loop, because remember, if we're not looping in MicroPython, or we're not doing something or waiting for something, we're just going to stop because there's no operating system here to take over and do other things or schedule things. So we're going to read U16. I guess that's some sort of unsigned value. And we're going to get a number between 0 and 65535. So it's not a fractional number; it's an integer number, but in a range. So yes, run the code and try turning the dial. Watch the values go up and down as you turn the knob. And we might not see 0. Okay, so this might be a little bit more try your hardware and see what makes sense for it, rather than having hard-coded values that you depend on all the time. So I've copied this. So we're going to do import ADC and pin. We're going to set up pin 27 as a potentiometer and ADC pin, which I guess is an input. And then while true, we're going to read a U16 value from it and just print that out. And then wait 1 second. And hopefully we'll see when we turn the potentiometer, the value changes. So here's our code. I'm going to power up the Pico. I'm going to power up the Pico by plugging it in. There we go. It's a bit stiff. And we'll just hit stop here and make sure we get the MicroPython console or REPL down here. So that's cool. We don't have much code, and we're going to get a lot of output. So let's make the REPL a bit bigger. And when we play this, so we're getting some fairly variable values. Let's see what happens when I turn the dial. Whoa, problem in backend. I wonder if something bad has happened here. So let's see. I wonder if we have done something incorrectly here and caused a problem. Well. Oh, we've got MicroPython back. Okay, so we didn't blow anything up. Maybe I just touched it in the wrong place and messed things up. But okay, so we've got a dial here. When I turn it, not a lot is really happening, is it? There's no like distinct correlation between the value we're getting, and then eventually it blows up. So I wonder if when it goes too far, we're getting some sort of voltage error or something, or maybe it's going over the U16. I don't know. This is new to me. So Let's recheck our working here. So first off, kill the power to the device. Right, let's see what we've got. So we started off here. We've got the potentiometer on the board, like so. We've got 3 things lined up with the legs of the potentiometer. Yep. And then let's see. And there is a chance I've wired it up backwards because I don't really, but put it this way around. We've got red going into the right leg, the data pin going into the middle and ground, top of ground going into the left. So unless that's the wrong way around somehow. So right goes to 3v3 out. And middle goes to GPIO and left to ground. Yes. So I'm pretty sure that's what we've got. Okay, so I suppose there is a chance that we just wired these two the wrong way round. So I'm going to risk it and try that because it's not very clear on here where the actual potentiometer dial should be. So as in, should it be facing me or what? I think it should. But what do I? Oh, this is really stiff again. There's something about this lead that it doesn't want to fit. Doesn't want to go in there. Let's just pull the potentiometer out there. Push this. Any of these? Is it going to go? It wants to go into that one. Okay, it can go into that one. That's where it wants to go. Right, let's try this seated on the edge. Power up, run the code, and see what happens. And now we swap things around. So, I mean, there is a chance that I got things backwards because this is a sort of overhead view and we're building with something that forward faces. So, let's see. Can't find the pico at this point. This sometimes happens. Nope, it really doesn't want to do that, does it? So let's see if the pico is around. Let's quit Funny and restart it as well. No, let's not save the file. Let's restart Funny. This is going less than optimistically, or less than perfectly today, isn't it? So let's see. Still unable to connect. I wonder if this is the circuit or something else going on here. So what I'm going to do is try the Pico in boot style mode and see if that shows up. Doesn't look like it. So I wonder, nothing there. I wonder what we have done. We certainly can't find that anymore, can we? Nope. Let's change the wiring back, because it might be that this wasn't doing me any favors. Oops. Get that in line with the leg. This is not the greatest, is it? Let's get that in line with that. Okay, so now we've got the potentiometer wired back up how it was before. Let's see if that magically changes anything. I'm really hoping I haven't broken something, like properly broken some hardware. Hey, there we go. So MicroPython is back. So that must be the right way around, because it just isn't booting otherwise. So let's get our code back and see if it is behaving any differently or not. What we might have to do is, we've got 2240 at the very low end of the scale, but you see it then just jumps up and it wants to sit at like 11. If I turn it up a bit, it actually goes down a bit, and then we're back in the 10,000s. And then if we go too far around, it's gonna, so if we do this all the way around, it's gonna die. So I really don't know what's going on with this. So what we'll do is we'll just accept that we've got it some way working, and let's move on and see if we can just sort of watch this around. So what can we do with this large range of input readings? Well, unfortunately, we don't have a large range of input readings. I'll probably have to look into this offline, because this isn't the most entertaining live streaming experience. So we can control other components such as LEDs. So yeah, we can change things. Oh, okay. So we can control how fast the LEDs flash. So we used a variable that was constantly updated. This time we're using one to change the time.sleep delay, basically, by the looks of it. So it takes a reading from the potentiometer, divides the reading to give us a number that's more usable, and so on. Turn your knob halfway around to start with. Okay, this is going to be difficult because, I mean, it should work, but I don't think it's going to work as they intend, because for some reason we're not getting the full range of values. So let's look at this. So that's the red LED. We're going to use that one, one of the three that we connected. And we've got a delay variable, and we're going to loop and read that U16 and divide it by 65,000 and then wait for that long. So this value will vary as we change the potentiometer. As I say, probably not in the range that they want it to. So let's see if we can. I'm going to have to restart this thing again. Having a reset button on these will be handy. I understand it adds cost. I love that some of the Pomeranian products add a reset button, or I suppose you could get a USB cable with a, a power switch in it. But I don't know if those do data as well. Okay, so run. So we've got an LED flashing away. Let's put this on the big screen so that you can see better. So that's potentiometer. There's the LED. Let's try and get them both on screen at the same time. So the LED's back there. So as I mess with this, it should change that delay. It's not changing it perhaps as much as they want it to, because for some reason we're not getting the range of values out of this. So yeah, as I say, we'll have to debug that. And then if I go too far around, it's going to crash it like it did before. So okay, we've got a flashing thing, and we've basically got a variable delay on it. There isn't, as I say, a huge amount of variation in that because of whatever's going on with the potentiometer setup. So yeah, so I'll come back to that and see if we can look at it offline, but we'll move forwards. We can now also use the wide range of analog values to trigger an action depending on whereabouts in the overall range we are. We can do this with if statements. We're going to have to change this because our values just aren't in the range that they're thinking. So, so less than or equals to 20,000, 20,000 to 40,000, and so on. It'll do different things. So let's copy that in. What it's going to do is basically, depending on the value, it's going to set the LED states that we looked at in previous day to be different things. So let's stop that and run this. And we've got, see if I can, doesn't really help that the cable, the USB cable, is at the same end as the, or the opposite end to the LEDs. Yeah, so as I turn this around, we're just not getting the range that we want out of this. So if we were getting the range we wanted out of this, we would be able to do this and show the lights. But that's not happening today. So, but you get the idea of there will be buckets in which these values could fall, and I will have to figure out why this is not doing the thing. So, because it all looks very simple. You know, we're just reading this U16. I have to wonder if I somehow, I don't think I've miswired the potentiometer or got the knob on incorrectly or something. If anyone's got any experience with these, let us know. So, this is something that I've always wanted to try though. So, LED fader using PWM. So, you know, to have that LED sort of pulse nicely rather than just on or off. So, PWM, pulse width modulation, it's a type of digital signal where over a set period of time we decide how long the signal is on, how long it's off. So it's digital, so it's like fully on or fully off, but very, very fast. So it creates a fading effect, it says here, and can be used to control servos. Never worked with servos. Something I should do one day. I need to buy a Mi arm from Ben over the other side of town and do Mi arm stuff. So we need some values, a duty cycle and a frequency. So the duty cycle is how long we keep the LEDs on. The percentage of the time that they'll be on. The higher the duty cycle, the longer the LED is on, and the brighter it appears. Okay, so again, 0 to 65535 matches the potentiometer if it was working. Right, and frequency is the number of times per second that we repeat the on-off cycle. So, how often do we pulse the thing? Okay, so we're going to introduce some new things. We're going to import PWM. We're going to set the LED up differently as a PWM type output, not a regular digital output like we had already. Set the frequency, and then we use the potentiometer and so on. So again, we're going to get underwhelming results from this because there is something up with this setup. But let's stop what we had running already. Right. So again, potentiometer on pin 27. The LED is now a PWM setup, and we're setting a frequency on it. And we're looking for the reading. and then passing that into here. So it's essentially going to, I guess, ping the LED really fast and create some semblance of sort of gentle on and off, rather than harsh, fully on and off. I don't know. So try this, turn it on, and I just don't think we're getting the range again. So what you probably can't appreciate on the camera is that the LED is actually substantially dimmer than it had been. It looks bright on here because it's undiffused, but it is relatively dim. And there's just not enough range in this potentiometer that I'm turning here because of, I don't know what. We're sort of still getting values in the, well, they're pretty much the same whatever I do with it. So I honestly don't know what is going on with this. And again, the processor died because I turned it all the way to one side. So you see here, it's just process ended. So I think we're going to have to like revisit this whole thing once we've done potentiometers. So hopefully day 5 that we're about to move across to doesn't rely on the potentiometer. So it says, oh yeah, make it, break it, fix it, learn. So I'm going to have to go back and learn a little bit more about this and see if I can figure it out. And don't take anything apart just yet. So we're going to go to day 5 and let's see what day 5 entails. Hopefully it moves on from the potentiometer rather than building on it, but we'll see. Hear my code. Okay. Welcome to day 5. So let's get box 5 here. Five is a nice green box. Here we go, green 5. Today we'll be making sounds with our code using the custom buzzer you've just discovered in your box. So, So okay, day 5's box, simple buzzer. Looks like a piezo type buzzer. It's got 2 connections on it, I guess, which is voltage and ground. So it's going to make some noises. Hopefully the microphone will pick this up as well. So just one buzzer. I've actually got a stack of these somewhere for other projects. Today we'll be using our buzzer in a few different ways for simple beeps and tones, then combining with our potentiometer to control the volume. So, okay, we're going to have a sort of mixed ride with this because of this potentiometer problem. This particular buzzer works with PWM signals, so something we introduced in day 4 to allow you to generate different tones. So we'll be tapping back into everything we learned about PWM. It's almost like we planned this. Yeah, this is quite a good journey through the different things you can do. I like that there's a story and a plan and everything builds on everything. So while we've had a little setback, we'll keep moving forwards. Remember to unplug your Pico before amending the circuit. So goes the power. We'll be using the potentiometer from yesterday's box to control our buzzer. I'm just putting box 5 back in the stack of boxes here. Let's put that back together, keep things nice and tidy. We just need to add our buzzer and we're good to go. This is one of the easiest components to work with because one end, it's already connected up. The other end, it just goes on the board. So let's put it under there and have a quick look at it before we there we go. So before we get going, as you can see, one end is completely wired into the buzzer already. We don't need to mess around with that. So there you go. So simply push the red wire into GPO 13 and the black wire into the ground next to it, physical pin 18 and 17. So down this other side, so down near the debug probe, 17 is going to take the red and 18 is going to take the black. So if we get the Pico like this, there's a lot going on here. So the debug probe, put the debug probe facing me. These excuse me, pins are on the left. So ground goes in the third one up. 1, 2, 3 there, and power goes in the fourth one up right next to it there. So we've now got, and I'll make this big, we've now got the buzzer wired up like that. So hopefully we have a little bit more success with this component. Right. So yes, something like that. Activity 1, let's buzz. So we can generate different tones based on the PWM frequency and duty cycle we use in our code. So similar to when we were changing the delay with the potentiometer. So this changes the tone of the buzzer with the frequency, and the duty cycle, the volume. Okay, this might be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I will have no idea if you can actually hear this. So let's see. The example below includes the same ingredients you're now becoming familiar with. Imports, pin setup with PWM. So what we learned about in the previous example, duty cycle and frequency. So there's nothing new or scary here. And usual, slightly excessive code commentary tells you what each line is doing. Fair enough. So here we are setting up the buzzer as a PWM on a different pin, setting a frequency and a duty cycle, buzzing it for a second, and then turning it off. So this doesn't use the potentiometer. So hopefully this is a good test of, does our buzzer work? So paste that in, connect the circuit here to the power, because we're going to need that. Also data, send the code to the device. So we have got our USB in. Stop that. We've got a MicroPython REPL, so the Pico's working. So let's run this and see what noise it makes. I'll hold it close to the mic just in case, because I have no idea of knowing if you can hear this. But yeah, we're getting a nice steady beep there. So that's working. The buzzer's connected. Yeah. Now try changing that frequency number to 300 and see what happens. Did the tone go lower? So let's try that comparison, and then this. Yeah, so it went lower. Okay. You can try higher values too, but eventually you'll go too high, around 10,000, and it won't work, / your human ears won't hear it. So maybe we'd need a dog to hear that. I don't know. So let's try 5,000 and see if we can still hear that. Yep. It's a bit like loading sounds on old 8-bit computers. Okay. Changing tones. Here's another simple example to show you how easy it is to change the tone on your buzzer from one to another. Here we start with the frequency of 1,000 for 1 second and drop it down to 500 for 1 second. So, yep, frequency 1,000, 1 second, drop to 500, 1 second, turn it off. So, pretty understandable stuff. Do that, and I'll hold this over near the mic and we'll see what happens. So yeah, we've got two distinctive different tones there on our little buzzer. And then it turns off at the end. And activity 3, this may be where it starts to fall apart a little bit with our stuff. Because like we controlled the frequency on the LED, we can control the sound on the buzzer because it's a similar thing. They're both PWM things. So it's the same two things we're playing with, same two variables. So we have a while loop, takes a reading from the potentiometer, stores it in a variable, and then uses that as the duty value. Okay, so we can see that here. We've got the buzzer, we've got the potentiometer, we've got an initial reading of 0. Then we have a little sleep, read the potentiometer, and set the buzzer to that. And this is a very small sleep, 0.01 seconds. So it should be fairly responsive. I don't know what sort of sound we're going to get out of this and how much variation we'll have as I twiddle the potentiometer, but there's only one way of finding out, isn't there? So let's just run this and leave it in a steady state for a minute. Now I'm going to change the potentiometer. You see, we don't get much variation, which is a shame because this should change the buzzer. So again, the fact that this potentiometer is either, just stop that for a minute. Yikes. We might have to turn this off manually now. Let's run the previous code and turn it off, because otherwise it's going to make this noise forever. 1 second, this is getting noisy. Let's do that. We have quiet. Okay. So you can see how this was going to work, but our potentiometer is, or my inability to use the potentiometer, one of those things, is letting us down. Never mind. So activity 4, festive jingle. So we can change frequency between each pause and create a tune that resembles a popular festive jingle. So I guess there's numbers that you can feed into this that represent roughly musical notes, and then with delays and stuff, you can put things away. So we don't have to make all of those up. It's purposely inefficient because each section includes the lines to turn the volume on and off, as well as delays. So yeah, you might want to tidy that up into a function or something one day, or use like a Python list or something and just process through the list with all the values. Okay. So I'm going to copy this, and there's quite a lot of it. But if you look at what it's doing is it's going to play Jingle Bells, right? And this is the sort of sounds for each part of the tune that you would know. So Jingle Bells, yeah, all the way, and all of that. And that's going to turn it off at the end, which is nice. Quiet. So let's paste that in there. I'm going to hold this up to the microphone again, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully we get something that's a little bit more tuneful now. Play it again. Well, there we go. Reasonably tuneful. Doesn't use potentiometer, so it definitely worked. And yeah, that's all right. There's another one, activity 5. So yeah, I was saying you might want to tidy this up with functions. And the next thing is functions. So we're not really here to teach that, but if you've not seen these before, functions in Python are you take a block of code, you give it a name, and you potentially give it parameters, so things that can be passed in. So if you're writing something that, for example, squared a number, you might have a parameter x and then return x times 2, or x times itself. No, x times 2. I'm terrible at maths, but you get the idea. And x will be your parameter. So here's a function that prints 3 lines. So every time you call my function, this has no parameters, it's going to do these 3 things. So it's like creating an alias for those three statements, if you like to think about it that way. Because it's Python, how do we know that something's in a function? We indent it, so everything that is one level in from this is part of the function. If we had an if statement in there, it would be 2 levels in, and so on. So let's just copy that and watch what happens when we do this. So when we run this, absolutely nothing happens down here because we're not calling the function, so we're just defining it. So if I then call it like this, and you have to put the brackets because it's a function and it can take parameters. So here we're saying there are none, so let's do that. So you get this is a function, and if we do it twice, you should see that output twice. And let's give it a parameter. Up here, we'll call that parameter name and then do print. Print the name out. So you should see when it does that, I now get hello Simon, and the code up here knows nothing about Simon. We passed it in, and that's roughly how parameters work. So let's see. So now we have a function. How do we use it? Why is it better than just writing the code? Basically, it's recycling. So we can recycle things. So yeah, if you wanted to do that 3 times, you'd do it that way. Or you do it this way, or you'd run a loop in Python that calls my function how many times you want. And they're talking about arguments here. So I said parameters, arguments, depends which part of the function you're looking at. But basically, we include arguments when we call the function. They become parameters to the function. So hey, I kind of pre-guessed this. So they're doing, if you pass in different parts of your name, it'll print it out. I just stuck my name on the end there. It's the same thing. Right, so how are we going to do this with the buzzer? So we're going to use a function called playTone, and it's going to take a note, a volume, and basically delays. Okay, so these are the different note values, I guess. Here's our playTone function that takes all of these, and then we've simplified all of that load of code that we had before that was really repetitive down to calling these functions. Then we turn the buzzer off afterwards. So half the number of lines does the same thing. So when we play this, we should get Jingle Bells again, but with less code. So let's try that out. There we go. We got a slightly metallic, tinny sounding Jingle Bells. Okay. We can run with that. And then bonus, more notes. Somebody added, Chris, whoever Chris is, kindly added a comment below, down the bottom, providing a nice full list of notes, including sharps. So you could use this to write a complete song. I'm not a musician, so I'm not going to do that. So day 5 complete. So we did some stuff with buzzers. That was a little bit easier than the potentiometer one. I want to figure out what's wrong with the potentiometer. So if I can do that, I will do, and I'll make another video about that. But we're going to have to press on because we are now at day 5 done. We've got 6 to 12 to do. And today is the 18th of December. So I need to be done by end of Friday. And I can't do this on Wednesday. I've got some other stuff to do. So what I'm going to do is tackle days 6 and 7 on the stream tomorrow. And I will be doing that at 10 o'clock UTC, 10 o'clock UK time in the morning. So we'll get up, grab a coffee, tackle a couple of days worth of boxes on here and see where that gets us. And if you want to find out when that is, well, it's going to be 10 o'clock UTC tomorrow. And at some point, there'll be a video up on YouTube that you can subscribe to me and get a notification when it happens. You can follow me on Twitter. That's probably the best way of finding out what's going on because I try and announce things there. And also check out my website. There isn't a live page for this stream series just yet, but I'll see if I can complete that today and get it up ahead of tomorrow's. So yeah, watch the socials and watch YouTube, and it'll appear there. It also streams to Twitch and LinkedIn and the other place, X, Twitter, whatever that wants to call itself. We're still going with Twitter on this stream, so that's what it'll be. Okay, I am going to go and take a break and maybe figure out if I can just redo this potentiometer from scratch and see if there's anything up with it. If there is, I will provide an update on that if I can fix it. If not, let's hope that moving forwards, we use different things, although I've got a feeling at some point this will build into like a crescendo of everything we've built together is all piled on into one big thing. So hopefully I can fix it. And I might reach out to some people to see what's up because I've no experience with this component. All right, take care. See you on the next one. Bye.